The Avatar Legends beta is over, and now it's time to talk about what worked, what didn't, and what the game still needs to improve before launch. Now, I don't want this to be just my opinion. I want to open a discussion because from what I've seen and played, a lot of players seem to agree on a few things. The game looks amazing. It's easy to pick up, the online has potential, but there are still questions about balance, long combos, and how much content the full game will actually have. So let's break it down. First, visually, I think this game absolutely understands Avatar. I don't want to sound like a fanboy here, but if I had to imagine what an Avatar 2D fighting game would look like, it would probably be looking like this. The characters are colorful, expressive, full of personality. I'm not even sure if sprites is the correct word here, but they look vivid, detailed, and sometimes even more colorful than the original show. What really stands out is that this does not feel like a generic fighting game with Avatar skins. The characters actually feel like themselves. The animations, facial expressions, attacks, and voice lines all feel like they were made with real care for the series. One detail I really liked is how the taunts and quotes can change depending on who you're fighting. For example, Toph has different taunts for different characters, and they're fully voiced and acted by the original voice actor from the show. That is the kind of detail Avatar fans notice. The stages are also full of references and Easter eggs. Even while fighting, you can spot small details in the background that connect to the show. So visually and presentation-wise, I think they're doing a great job. But I want to know what you think. Which character, animation, voice line, or stage impressed you the most? And now gameplay. One of the strongest things about the beta is that the game is very easy to pick up. You can choose a character, press some basic buttons, chain into a super, and still do something that feels cool. With Toph, for example, I was able to do simple combos without knowing any advanced routes. And that's important because this game will probably attract many Avatar fans who are not hardcore fighting game players. So the game needs to be simple enough for casual players to enjoy, but deep enough for competitive players to keep learning. And from what I played, I think they did a decent job with that balance. The basics are easy, but once you look at what people are already doing online, there's clearly more depth. Now the real question is, can the full game keep both audiences? Can it be fun for casual Avatar fans and still interesting for serious fighting game players? That might be one of the most important things this game needs to get right. One thing I would personally like to see is at least one more super for each character. Right now, 2 supers per character felt a little limited to me. It's not a huge problem, but Avatar has so many iconic moves that I think more supers would make each character even more complete. Maybe that could come later in a patch, DLC, or Season Pass. And speaking of future content, vote King Bumi. Well, let's talk about online. For a fighting game, online is not a small detail. It can decide whether people keep playing after launch or drop the game after a few weeks. Most of my online matches were actually fine. Some had more than 200 ping. But that could be because of the region, distance, or beta issues. Even with high ping, the matches usually seem to flow properly on my screen. So overall, the connection felt fairly good to me. That makes me more interested in ranked matches when the full game comes out. Now, the only real issue I had was that I was playing it on PS5 and I couldn't play online until the second day for some reason. I'm not really sure what happened there, but once it worked, the experience was mostly solid. And unless I'm mistaken, I think the beta was extended a little because I was still able to play online around July the 7th at 1 a.m. But I want to hear from other players too. How was the online experience for you? Was it smooth, laggy, inconsistent, or better than expected? Another important topic, balance. This is where I think the discussion gets interesting. I'm not a master fighting game player by any means, so I'm not going to say something like this character is broken or this character needs to be banned. It is a beta, people are still learning, and I'm still learning, but Azula's combos are crazy. Some players were doing 30-hit combos very easily, and she definitely felt like one of the scariest characters in the beta. At the same time, at least against the opponents I played, she was still beatable. So I wouldn't call her completely broken yet. Honestly, she kind of feels like the Akuma of this game. Dangerous, flashy, aggressive, and probably very strong in the right hands. But that brings up a bigger question. Are long combos going to make this game exciting? Or could they become a problem later? Because when the game is about movement, spacing, reads, fast decisions, and back and forth interactions, it looks really fun. But if the strongest way to play becomes landing one hit and then watching a very long combo every round, I can see some casual players getting frustrated. I'm not saying that that is already a problem, it's still too early for that, but it's definitely something worth watching when the game comes out. What do you think? Are long combos hype? or could they hurt the game in the long run if they become too dominant? Now, that being said, I am looking forward to the combo trials. Right now, we're going to have fun with the basics, but I also want to learn how people are doing these longer combos. Combo trials could help a lot, especially for players who enjoy the game but need structure to improve. Now, as far as content goes, the beta made me excited to play the story mode with each character. I want to play all of them. Even if the story mode ends up being mostly screenshots and text, I'll probably still try it, although I really hope it's more than that. Fingers crossed. For an Avatar game, story content matters. Now, a fighting game can survive on versus and ranked modes, but Avatar has a huge fan base that cares about characters, lore, dialogue, and references. So if the story mode is good, that could help the game reach more than just the fighting game audience. So overall, my thoughts on the Avatar Legends beta are mostly positive. The visuals are great, the characters feel faithful to the show, the stages are full of details, the gameplay is easy to pick up, but seems to have depth. The online was mostly solid for me, and the game already has moments that are fun to watch and fun to play. But the full game still has important questions to answer. Will the balance hold up? Will long combos become too dominant? Will online rank be stable? Will the story mode have enough content? And will the roster grow in a way that keeps both Avatar fans and fighting game players interested? For now, I think the beta showed great potential. Not perfect, but definitely promising. Now I want to hear from you. Which character felt the strongest? Which character was the most fun? Let me know in the comments.